the companies that have board certified nutritionists on board, they meet the minimum nutritional needs for our dogs.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Buddies Besties. I'm Layla. I'm your host today. And today I am joined with Dr. Meg Pope. And you brought some friends with us today.
I brought my dogs, 2 of my dogs.
Okay, so this is Scout. And this is
Ava.
And we're really excited. We always love to have fur babies on set. So they will be just kind of roaming around, y'all. So when you see them, you know who they are. Love having them. So here they are. And so fun.
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk to you today really about, I think the topic that's on a lot of people's minds that have animals and that love them is nutrition. And I know when we originally talked, you were like, I don't know if people have questions about that, but you did some of your own research, and what did you find out?
Well, I asked a lot of people. I sent texts to friends, family members, young people, old people. The number one question, I said, what if you were to ask me, I'm going to be on this show, what would you like to hear? Everybody wanted to know. Number one question was, what should I feed my dog?
What should you feed your dog? Yes. So there's so many things around nutrition. So just for us people, it's like gluten-free and organic and, you know, all these special diets. And when you go down the dog food aisle and the cat food aisle,
for me,
it's confusing, right? And we hear so many different things around it. So I guess my first question is, what should you feed your dog?
I wish I could give you a very short, easy answer, and I cannot. There are medical conditions for which we have special foods, and that's really a whole nother topic. But if you just want to get a good quality dog food, I would encourage you to stick with the big, I know no one likes the big corporations, but the companies that have been in business for years and years, the companies that have board certified nutritionists on board, they follow the AAFCO guidelines, and they meet the minimum nutritional needs for our dogs.
Okay.
And minimal nutrition doesn't, I don't think, sound that great. No one thinks it sounds that great. But unfortunately, they did a study recently where they studied the boutique foods.
Sure.
The homemade diets, the raw diets, and 90% of them, that's a lot, were inadequate.
Inadequate.
And everybody wants to feed organic.
Yes.
Everyone wants to feed expensive boutique diets.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that, but I worry that the inconsistencies in the batching, the lack of oversight, the lack of research, sadly, you know, I think you're best off to feed like a good Purina or Hills or Rural Canin is a really good diet. Those are the 3 biggies. Not to say there's not, you know, so many other good brands out there, but I worry about the ones that have celebrities, you know, as their face. And I will say, and I know people who want to homemade diet their dogs. If you want to do that, don't just go to the internet and Google.
Okay.
Go and find a board certified veterinary nutritionist, and they will provide you homemade diets.
But would they look for a specialist that just does nutrition as opposed to the regular vet?
Yes.
Would they be able to get a reference from a regular vet to say, hey, call this nutritionist or call that nutritionist?
Maybe.
Okay.
Honestly, until I started researching for this show, I was like, I don't even know any nutritionists, and I just found them on a veterinary site.
Okay.
It's a lot of veterinarians it's called Veterinary Internet Network. It's I call it How to Be a Vet, and there are nutritionists on that site, and so. But yeah, you can Google veterinary nutritionist, but don't Google what food what homemade diet, because I don't know what you'll get.
Right. You just don't know what's out there.
Mm-mm.
So let's take each diet specifically. So let's talk about grain-free.
Grain-free.
So what's the buzz on grain-free?
Okay, it's a perfect example of marketing. So grain-free, people come into my office and they say, Dr. Meg, I'm feeding my dog grain-free. Why? Marketing. And it's been told to them that it's better for their skin. and we'll get into skin and allergies later
Yep.
or whenever. But food allergies are not as common as people think. They're very actually uncommon, thankfully, because they make up the worst allergies we see. So grain-free may address, there are an occasional dog or occasional dogs that will do better on grain-free for their skin. It's pretty rare, but the problem with grain-free diets is we saw a huge jump in cardiac disease. I don't mean cardiac disease, I mean heart failure.
Because of the grain-free.
Uh-huh.
Is it because of what they're putting in there to fill out the...
Apparently the legumes, the peas and lentils and things that they're putting instead of the grain, somehow that's related to taurine in the diet and creating a lack of taurine that's available. Taurine is important for the cardiac health. And these dogs, instead of having a normal sized heart, they'll have it's really sad.
Well, so I'm going to guess now that goes for cats too.
There were problems with cats and taurine, and yes, it does go.
It's
for
interesting
cats too.
because...
But we haven't seen the jump in the cardiac disease in cats. But about 20 years ago, we did have a taurine deficiency, and we saw a lot of cats having cardiac disease. And it was actually it was a big name company, and they corrected it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me a little, makes me nervous because I do feel, I think maybe I just listen to a lot of marketing, but I think, grain-free and organic, and man, if I can get it all in one, and I do, and I specifically order my cats grain-free, organic, fill in the blank, right? And so, wow, if they don't need it, maybe I don't need to be doing that, and I can just give them some.
Or you can cover your bases, add a little bit of healthy grain-free too.
Yeah.
If you want to feed homemade, add some grains, add some commercial, add Purina,
Yeah.
just something as an insurance.
Got it.
To make sure.
What about the raw diet? You have a lot of people that are really, really about feeding their dogs raw versus a wet or something else they can get from the
same thing, most, like 9 out of 10 veterinarians are going to say it's not worth the risk. It's the foodborne illness is too dangerous. Just like being pregnant, I eat sushi, but if you're pregnant, you don't eat sushi. You don't eat lunch meat now, which is a new thing I didn't know about. So the foodborne illnesses, and I do see recalls on raw food all the time. And then the benefit of the raw food, the claims are that it's more digestible, but there's not much research to substantiate that. So to me, the benefit versus the risk is not worth it. And I did see a lecture from this lovely Scottish veterinarian nutritionist, and she said that unless your dog, she said it with her cute little, unless your dog is out hunting its prey and eating it, then they shouldn't be eating raw food. And she said, plus the meat that they put in, the parts they put in aren't fit for sausages, which I don't do a very good
It was good for me. I don't do any, so it was good. It was really good.
But, I don't have the information myself. I just get it from other people that are veterinarians, that are nutritionists, and that's what they're saying.
When you went through veterinary school, how much of your education was on nutrition?
Not very much.
Not very much. Mm-hmm. So you really have to, as a vet, you have to do your own research and really learn.
Yeah.
And wow, so it's kind of on you.
Yeah, and this explosion in dog foods that we've had in the last, couple decades.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You brought up recalls. If you have a food, it could be any food, it could be any brand, it could be anything that you're using, and you had a recall, what should you do? Obviously, you throw the food away, but should you take your animal to the vet? Should you call? Like, what do you do?
I think you would just mostly watch for symptoms. Obviously, take the dog off the food, and I would return that food and get my money back. Food is not inexpensive these days. It wouldn't hurt to get a good baseline lab work, make sure their liver and kidneys and things like that are okay, but definitely stop it immediately. Right. And if you see any symptoms, you would mostly be looking, I think, for GI symptoms.
Okay.
Vomiting, diarrhea, that sort of thing, lack of appetite, then of course you would go straight to the vet.
Got it. Let's talk about organic. So that's a buzzword. It's been a buzzword in food for humans for a while. And Ava's back.
She's back.
And now it's just really big for animals. You mentioned how expensive animal food, pet, cat, dog, all those things, very expensive. Add organic to the mix and it becomes even more expensive.
Same thing. Just watch and make sure that it is formulated by a veterinary nutritionist.
Do you think there is an advantage to the organic for animals?
You know, it's
if
hard
you're
to
getting the
say.
same high, let's say it's a comparable brand, because a lot of the same brands will do a regular and then they'll do an organic. Do you think there's a value or a very big difference between the two?
You know, I think those are questions we're going to find out over the next 10, 20 years as organic food for humans. You know, a lot of it we extrapolate from humans. Have we discovered that organic is going to save our lives? I don't know. I'm not sure. It certainly can't hurt to have eat organic, but same thing. You do want to make sure that it is a balanced diet.
So is that one of those things you would say where I'm, leaning towards grain-free because I just think it's going to be an extra plus? Maybe not so much for the grain-free, but maybe for organic. If you're able to do it and you want to do something maybe a little bit better, it's okay to do it, but it's not required.
Right.
How do you avoid a diet for them full of processed stuff? Because a lot of the reason people stay away from the big brands is because we've heard there's dyes and there's processed things, which again, I think leads to people wanting to do organic and do something better. How do we avoid some of those things? What should we be looking for on labels or on the backs of packages?
It's really hard. And back to the organic versus regular.
Yeah.
Also, watch out for all natural. What does that mean?
Yes.
That doesn't really have a definition. So don't be sucked into all natural and spend more money because I'm not sure that you're getting anything for that.
So that's also in the human food because that is my day job.
Yeah.
I know a lot about groceries and all of that, and all natural is not substantiated for people either. It's just what is all natural?
It just sounds good.
It's not definition. Sounds great.
It sounds good.
Yep.
And I would like to point out here's another marketing. When a diet, the first ingredient is chicken. That's very highly touted right now. But chicken, when they put it in the diet, is 75% water. So when they put it in the diet first, then they make into a kibble, then they are taking out. So the actual amount of chicken you're feeding is not the number one ingredient in that diet.
It's not because it's mostly water.
So
Wow. I didn't know that.
We don't want processed food is whatever, that's a buzzword too.
Right.
But processing means they turn that chicken into chicken meal and it's actually more nutritious for the dogs. Marketing is just marketing.
Yeah.
And this food looks good to people and you can see the fresh vegetables. That's all for humans. I mean, dogs in the wild and in third world countries, they don't care what it looks like.
Yeah.
Neither do these actually.
They just want to eat.
They eat.
They eat. So let's talk a little bit about treats because I, in my house, I give treats. I love treats. I noticed that you and others that we've seen, especially with their animals, you use them as positive reinforcement. I just like to give treats. So how many treats are okay?
I don't care how many treats you give, just as long as you're not overfeeding your dog.
Okay. And what kind of treats are the right kind of treats?
Oh, you didn't.
I mean, you don't have to give a brand, but it's like, we hear things like, rawhide bones are maybe good or not good. There's a lot of controversy around different kinds of treats.
I will tell you, rawhides, I think will keep these two puppies, when they were puppies, saved my life. Now, once they get small enough to swallow, I take them away.
You gotta get them. Okay.
But they kept these dogs busy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Saved my furniture.
What about, there's treats that are made, I know for cats, I'm sure for dogs too, that help them with their teeth, help them with their coat, help them with it. Are those legit or are those, they just taste a certain way and they like them?
I think they just taste good. They probably do have a little bit of omega-3 and I'm not sure. I never really thought that treats were that great for the teeth, except maybe the greenies and, maybe.
Okay, well, that's what I treat. And so I just want my husband to hear greenies are good for them and I can give them to them.
Within reason. These dogs actually like them as well.
How do you put your animals on a diet? Speaking of too many treats, what's a good way to put them on a diet? Is diet food actually safe for them? Is it better to cut back the amount of food? Oh, both. Both things. Okay.
Increase activity, decrease food. It's hard to out-eat a bad diet. I will say that too, with these fabulous diets that are on the market, these super expensive, high quality, wonderful diets. We are giving racehorse food to, the non-race couch potato dogs.
Right.
So we are nourishing our dogs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a thing.
Well, we're giving them too many calories.
Too many calories.
Yeah.
Got it.
Good nourishment is fine, but they're really dense foods.
Yeah.
And so you can't feed as much. And I think that frustrates people, because the dogs act hungry all the time. And maybe the food is just so tasty the dogs want it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so many dogs act hungry 24/7.
Well, so do cats.
Some cats do
And
as
if
well.
the bowl's empty, then you hate them. Like, you just don't love them anymore.
I will give you a tip. I didn't want to bash any companies, and I don't want to necessarily plug any company. But in my practice, Purina makes a diet food. It's a prescription diet food called OM. It stands for Overweight Management. The stuff is magic.
Okay.
It really
That's a great tip.
work.
That's a great tip. What's considered junk food for animals?
I think, for sure, a lot of the treats that you have at the store. They're sugar cookies. Like if you go to the pet stores, they've got that.
Yeah, and they've got the cookie bar. Yeah.
Read the ingredients. You can just pick one up and eat one yourself. I've done it.
She's taking your treats, Ava.
They're sugar cookies.
Sugar cookies.
I do like the treats, like what I have. These are like a freeze-dried liver.
Okay.
The nice thing is you can give a small amount.
Yes.
Dogs don't know. I don't think dogs know volume.
Okay.
So when I'm given a treat, I like to do them for training, obviously, and just a small little bite and it's over. It doesn't have to be a full meal. Some of those big, it's like feeding your dog a candy bar.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What about people food? Let's ask that question because I know a lot of dogs like to eat people food.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
I do feed people food to my dogs.
Okay.
We live out in the country. I can't put it down the disposal. I don't want to put it in the trash. These are my little garbage disposals.
Okay.
But I limit how much I give. And I have a small dog at home as well. He doesn't get any of the fatty portion because I don't want pancreatitis. And none of my dogs are overweight. And my dogs get a ton of exercise. So knock on wood, you're
living right now.
Yes, I'm living right, and none of my dogs are heavy. So it's all about how much. A little bit. I'm not going to say I approve of it, but I'm not going to say I disapprove either. And I know nobody's going to listen to me if I say don't do it.
We're all doing it.
We're all doing it. Let's face it.
What about the controversy or the debate? It's more of a debate around like dry kibble versus wet food. How about, is there like
I love a combo.
Combo. Okay, so give them both.
Mm-hmm. I think kibble, I think it's higher carb versus protein. It's kind of like doing, I don't have any facts to back this up, but I'm just going to go out on a limb anyway and say, if you do the meaty canned mixed in, you're kind of leaning towards a lower carb for your dogs.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Well, and low carb, for people too. It's just better and healthier to live low carb, so it does well for them.
And my dogs eat better when I mix the canned in with the dry.
So they'll eat more.
They'll eat. My dogs, I put the bowls down there like, do we have to eat? They're just not food driven.
Okay.
Most dogs are, but 3 out of 4 of my dogs are not
Wow.
food driven. It's very unusual, actually.
What about free feeding? So like for cats especially, that happens a lot where, I put dry food down all the time. And then there's school of thought where, you feed at a certain time and then you take the food back and that's the feeding time.
I think that's actually healthier.
Okay.
And for sure, dogs is healthier. And I think it's also healthier for cats.
Yeah.
So just go over to the cat side, because I know you have kitties.
Yes.
I have 3 cats. I have a 20-year-old cat.
Okay.
He's skin and bones. He's always been thin, but now that he's 20, he's really thin. And then I have a younger cat who got up to 20 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, he was really fat. And he started limping. I said, that's it. I didn't put him on a diet because I didn't want to take food from the free feeding
from
skinny
the other
cat.
cat, right?
So I brought home a bag of the Purina OM cat food. He literally chewed through the bag to get to it. And I put out, and then I took away. I put it up in the cabinet where he couldn't get it. And I kind of joked that his exercise was running back and forth to see if there was anything in the bowl.
Is the cabinet there?
And the other cat, he left the other cat's food alone. The other cat, the old one, mostly eats canned food anyway. So it didn't really seem like there was a lot of crossover.
So you didn't have to feed him separate or do that whole
Well,
thing?
they do. They have different bowls in different areas, which is important for cats.
Okay.
Interesting to note. And my cat, the 20-pound, he got down to 15 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, he got down to his fighting bikini weight.
That's 25%. That's a big difference.
He was, yeah. And I tell him he looks so sexy now.
Oh, I love it.
So cute. And over that course, just to go back to the different areas, cats need their own resources. Each cat needs its own resource.
I want to talk more about that because I have a bonded pair and they do everything together. And I thought it was fine to just put 2 bowls.
It might be.
Okay.
But it might not be.
Okay.
So they're supposed to have 3 feet of difference. So I actually have 3 cats. So I have a big long counter in my laundry room. So 1, 2, 3. They have 3. Now they share 1 box, and I have not had a problem with it. But in general, they're supposed to have their own resource for food, for boxes. One box per cat plus 1.
That's
and
interesting.
side by side boxes are not 2 boxes. Side by side boxes are 1 box.
So I do have multiple boxes. They all seem to go in the same one, and they're fine with that. But I do have multiple boxes, but I don't separately feed them. So that might be something I need to
And if they're
consider.
that bonded, it might be fine. But if there becomes a problem, I mean, I feel lucky because I have 3 cats and everyone uses that box. They also go outside during the day, and so they have that opportunity to be up to do their business somewhere else.
On the food, how would someone know if it's an issue?
I think it would be difficult to tell.
Right.
Yeah. So
no signs to look for.
I think for safety's sake, unless they're really close like yours are, I probably would do 2 bowls.
Sure.
Give them that opportunity. And then if you see that nobody's eating out of the other bowl, then I guess you could take it away.
They're both a little bit overweight, so I'm guessing that they're both getting all of their food.
So you might need to take it up during the day, put it down.
We don't free feed. I think a lot of people have different thoughts on that. I don't free feed, but they do eat together, and I might be giving them a little bit too much. And
do you feed canned?
I feed a combination. So I feed a little tiny scoop of the dry and then a can of the wet, and they only eat once a day, and I do put it down and pick it back up. So.
Okay. Yeah. And, when I first started vet school back in the day, I told everyone, don't feed your cat canned food. No, that's wrong. You do feed your cats canned food.
I had a sick one, and we made food for him, but it was really because he wouldn't eat anything else. And so we were trying just to get him to eat. Right. So that worked out for us. But we did do a lot of research on homemade diet, and there is a lot out there. So it really is important to get the right nutritionist to tell you how to do that.
Yep.
Any parting words on things that you think at home, tips for folks that are wanting to feed their pets better and don't want to, buy into all the marketing, anything that they should be looking for?
Man. I would just try to stick with a good brand, really a good quality brand, and do the best you can. And gosh, I've had dogs live 17 years and they didn't have homemade, they didn't have organic. I have lots of dogs, actually. I have at least 3 or 4 dogs that have lived 17 years. And I had one that was 18.
Wow.
And sometimes it's just good luck. And sometimes I think they'll be fine. And think about dogs and what they will eat. Okay, here's the parting words.
Yeah.
I have to go, it's my profession. It's always on poop. These guys love to go out in the pasture. We're out in the country. First thing they do, eat cow poop. People come in, all deer poop. How do I keep my dog from eating deer poop? I have no idea. Cat poop, they'll eat it all. So,
but it's okay.
We want them to eat these expensive diets. They want to eat cow poop.
And it's okay.
Seems to be fine. They seem pretty healthy.
So if your dogs eat your cat poop, don't call the vet immediately.
No.
Don't call Dr. Meg. She doesn't, they'll be fine.
They're not missing anything. They just enjoy it. They even eat each other's poop. These don't. A lot of dogs do. A lot of dogs go out and clean up the yard for you. I was like, I don't want to know about it.
No, please don't.
It's gross to me too, and I'm sorry to end with that.
No, that's okay. Hey, we're always going to have something to remember here.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming and talking about nutrition.
You're welcome.
Guys, I hope you learned a lot today around how to feed your dogs, what to read, and your cats. Thanks for joining us today. And remember, adopt, don't shop.